And we're live.
Okay. We're live. Okay. Well, welcome to today's Career Stories. I'm hosting today, and Joe is in the guest seat. So, for those that don't know me, I'm Laura. I'm founder of Strivin. Strivin is a startup that is focused on helping individuals manage their own careers through curated community, events, and content. Joe asked me if I would switch places with her today, and I would host, and she's the guest. I love talking about people's career stories, and I love talking to Joe. So I had to say yes. So, Joe, welcome to the stage.
Thank you very much. It does feel kind of weird being on this side. And I thought to myself, should I prepare? Should I prepare in advance, knowing what questions you're going to ask? Because they're the questions I asked. But I said, no, I'm just going to do this naturally and pass it to you because I trust you.
Yeah, and I feel like you know the answers. Your career story, you've got this. You can do this. So, on that, to get us started, can you tell us a little bit about your background, who you are, and how you got to where you are today?
Yeah, absolutely. So for me, I'm actually a scientist by background, and sorry for those that have heard this story before. It's a little bit different each time, when you're sharing your professional story, you want it to be impactful. So hopefully this one is. Scientist by background, took the career switch when I ended up in London. I did what many Aussies do. I went traveling, and I had set the intention of getting into the pharmaceutical industry as an R&D scientist in London. That was my intention. I had already had siblings and friends over in London, so I thought, yeah, pack my bags, and why not do it after a couple of years working in industry here in Melbourne as an R&D scientist for a chemicals sector. So what happened was I signed up to an agency called Lab Support, and it was Chris Richards who was fronting that agency over in Windsor in Berkshire. Love it there. And as I was going to sign my life away to an opportunity with a pharmaceutical company, she put the proposition in front of me asking me if I wanted to be a recruiter. And I was like, what? Be a recruiter? I've never really thought about that. Not sure. After a couple of days of having conversations with herself and a few other colleagues, I took the plunge, and I haven't looked back since. I've loved it. So I guess it's from science to people science, if you like. Recruiting scientists for scientists is how it all started. Worked in agency. It was temps first, then perm, so very fast pace. And after that, I ended up in an organization called TRS, and that's where I took things from the ground up for a scientific desk. I actually entered that role as an account manager and ended up, sort of twiddling my thumbs saying, yeah, maybe I could do a bit of BD. Maybe I can bring some clients in. And that was actually a pivotal time in my career. I learned so much. I was empowered to just get on with it, and that was really awesome. And I progressed my career thereafter into headhunting. So from the time that I had at TRS, I kind of hit a glass ceiling, and I was like, what do I do next with recruiting? I still love it, but what else can I do? And all of this was within the life sciences sector. Having decided to join an exec search firm called Talentmark, I pretty much learned from the ground up, from being a researcher to a senior researcher to a head of research in a short space of time, running a team of people. And that was awesome. And that's where I think it was ignited in terms of, I guess, the candidate engagement and candidate front of mind and being less transactional as a recruiter. It all started there. And it kind of expanded when I joined in-house. So I took the plunge, joined in-house. Sometimes, I refer to it as the lighter side, sometimes the darker side, depends. Depends on what roles and opportunities you're working on, because some of them are quite challenging at the moment. And, that's where I really learned from start to finish what it takes to bring in people into a business, not just, handing over the collateral and saying, okay, over to you, said recruiter, hiring manager. And that was a steep learning curve, and I loved it. It was with GSK over in Brentford. So I developed, I guess, a curiosity and an appetite to just keep pushing myself when it came to my career, knowing that I was happy in recruiting and then just wanting to do more and more and more. I think that was the basis of, what saw me take the next opportunity. As I was working at GSK, we decided as a family, so I left with a suitcase, came back to Melbourne with 2 kids and a hubby at the time, who's now an ex. In terms of, I guess, the move, it was a case of, leaving GSK, doing this big, bold move back to Melbourne, because we decided that that's what we're going to do. do we expand in terms of going into a bigger home, having a boy and a girl, or do we move to Melbourne? And so we moved to Melbourne, and I left as a scientist. I came back a recruiter, so I didn't knew nobody in the recruitment sector. But luckily for me, I had a shoulder tap for someone I knew at Asada International, and I wasn't planning on taking on a role. But as I was moving, I joined a headhunting firm. They wanted me to head up their R&D function, set up the processes in terms of talent pooling for some of their clients, and I ended up working with them for a year and a half whilst I, emigrated back to Melbourne, and that was pretty cool. Until, I got to a point of, well, I'm not really seeing much of friends and family. What's the point of having moved? Because of the time zone, I was managing a team from here over in the UK and working on opportunities in APAC. So, yeah, I decided to move on from there. And lucky for me, when I first came, I was networking. You have to network heavily anywhere you go for the first time in any country, I think. And I met Gareth Flynn. He was one of the people that I met, and thankfully, as I was transitioning out of a role, he had an opportunity for me to work through TQ Solutions. And I'm very grateful for that coffee conversation that we had many moons ago, and I consider him to be someone that I look up to. Even today, with all the things that he's been doing, and I had the opportunity to not just work in the life sciences sector, but also across other sectors as well. But when it came to halfway through working with TQ, the career coach itch really was ignited when I went on my own self-development journey and decided, there's something more. I love recruiting, I love doing that. But the candidate engagement piece is what I want to drive more forward. And that led me to putting my big girl pants on and sort of starting Proto-Science. And as you do with any kind of startup, you do things pro bono because you think you're not good enough. You think you need to know, a certain number of things before you start. And once you do start, you realize, well, I should have just started, back then from the outset. And it's been a journey ever since. And I think more formally, I took the plunge to do it 100% in 2020. And it's been growing steadily as we go along. And it's all to do with helping people with the next career destination. So if you're stuck, if you're in a pickle, whether you're in a business and you're looking, what is a pathway for me in this business? Because not everyone has that clarity, unfortunately. They're not the creme de la creme. They're not, on the top talent list, because not everyone can fit on there. There are different priorities for the business. It doesn't necessarily mean that you can't find an opportunity in the business and be accountable for it. So that's what I love to do. And aside that, it's one-to-one as well as workshops and programs. And I've been working with you, Laura, on what that will look like in the near future. So that's been pretty cool. And then the other side of it is, once a recruiter, always a recruiter. I'm also still on the buttons with TA, and I've been working within life science and tech, life science more recently, and then tech just this week. I've been supporting an organisation who I'll talk about, I guess, at a later stage when I do a bit of a shout out, because they're hiring a number of roles and it's remote and it's quite cool. So that's pretty much it in a nutshell, with the stop tour to how I got to where I am now. And the reason, I guess, for Proto-Science is all about adding value and making an impact and helping people with their career, because that's directly proportional to helping them be happy with their life. So career happiness equals happiness in life. Yeah.
Totally. No, couldn't agree more. And I love what you're doing at Proto-Science. The other thing that you didn't mention that I wanted to talk about, so not only are you running your own business and you've got 2 beautiful kids, you're also volunteering for Jobs for Humanity Australia. Can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Absolutely. So during the period of 2020, I don't know if everyone knows the story, but Justine, Andrea and Rich came together as a follow-up to the stuff that Roy was doing with Jobs for Lebanon because of the blast that had impacted many. And Jobs Australia was all about helping people who were impacted with job loss within the Aussie market. So amongst that cohort were TA professionals. As we know, we had recruiting going on, and then overnight it was, down to zero. And so it was a case of, well, what do we do with our skills? And Jobs for Australia was created, and I met some wonderful people there who I consider my tribe to this day, and I'm very grateful for that. So thank you to Rich, Justine, and Andrea for making that happen, and for Roy for coming up with it in the first place. As things transposed and the year progressed in 2021, which is this year, Jobs for Humanity, that's what it's become, I guess, become or transmorphed into. And it's all about helping people who come from underrepresented backgrounds find meaningful work, if I was going to summarize it. And it's a cohort of volunteers, who've come together. And in terms of what we're trying to achieve, we're trying to help businesses with enhancing, I guess, their diversity, but that's not really the essence and the driver. The driver is helping people, career coaching them, giving them the tools that they need so they can get ahead and hold their hand in the process. And the beauty of it is, well, businesses can benefit from it, so why not? So we have had a slow moving start. Roy and the team over abroad, because he travels everywhere. I can't tell you, I think he's in Lebanon right now. He was in San Francisco last week. He's a nomad and we love him for it. But the intention is to get as many clients or businesses to advertise with Jobs for Humanity, so we can enhance the visibility of what we're doing, and then get candidates interested in coming through and trusting us with taking them through a process, because a lot of these underrepresented backgrounds may not necessarily be on LinkedIn. So we've been coming up with ideas and strategies around, who do we partner with? Who can we support? And that's what our intention is for 2022. So anyone interested in coming along on the ride, please let us know. We're happy to have more volunteers. Yeah.
That's awesome. I love that. Okay, so then going back to your career, let's go back to the kind of beginning and think from the beginning to now. What do you think has been your biggest achievement so far?
I've been reflecting on things, and that's what I guess questions like this do.
Yeah.
And it's the time of year when you do reflection anyway. And
totally.
I was going to go, from each opportunity, I've had an achievement, but I'm going to pick my top achievement, because that's what I would expect if I was asking the question, right?
I was about to say, it's fine. Pick 3. I was going to give you your get out of jail, but no.
I'll pick one.
One.
I'll pick one. Now, it was when I had joined TRS Engineering. At the time, this would have been circa 2003, long time ago. I was pregnant at the time, and I did decide to change organization, and went out there, and I was looking for opportunities in London so it could be a better commute for me, because I was expecting. That's pretty much was the premise of that. And so luckily for me, TRS Engineering, I met with Martin Folzer, and he saw that I was obviously pregnant. And at the time, you would think that that would be a reason to say, I'm not going to hire this person. Instead, he put that to the side, and we had a wonderful conversation / interview. And from there, I joined, and that's where I was given accountability and empowerment to just go, hey, Joe, if you want to try something, go ahead and do it. So I would suggest the greatest achievement is joining TRS Engineering, having a leader who empowered me with a skill set that I had acquired from my first recruiting rookie role, if you like, and went, off you go, here are the tools and whatever you need. And at the time, biotech was booming over in the UK and Europe. And so I was working with a number of life science organizations, helping them hire scientists. And I grew a scientific desk from scratch. I was so successful in that role that my family and I at the time, after having, had the baby and come back in the 4-year tenure that I had, we had so many trips, to different European destinations because of all the things that we're bringing in terms of revenue. So I consider that to be the greatest achievement, because I often reflect right now, being an entrepreneur with Protoscience, at the time, I didn't think or have self-doubt or think I needed to get an extra certification or degree, or, I needed to have that certain title. I just literally went, wow, there's a pain point in the sector. They need scientists. I have, the connection to candidates. Why not support these businesses? And so I always reflect back on that just to remind myself when, that imposter syndrome arises, because all of us have it at any given time. It can show up. You kind of go, hang on a minute. No, I've got to trust that I'm doing the right thing here, and off I go and do it. So yeah, that was my greatest achievement, working with TRS and starting a scientific desk from scratch. But it wasn't because, of me just thinking, yep, I can do this. It was because I was empowered by an awesome leader who is still there to this day, running the team globally. Yeah.
I say it's a huge achievement for you, which is incredible, but it's also so nice to have a great story about a leader that's just so empowering and so trusting and just kind of allowed you to be the best version of you, which is amazing.
Absolutely. And I often reflect on the jokes that were coming up, because it was the I guess at the time agencies, because it was an agency environment, and it was very much get in at 8:30, leave at 6, and it wasn't like that with TRS. For me, I needed flexibility. Being the first time mum, I think that's also why it was a great achievement for me, because I had someone who was supportive, who enabled me to be successful. And if it wasn't for Martin allowing that flexibility, I don't think it would have been possible for me to actually have that career at that time.
That's amazing for both of you. It says a lot about you both as individuals. So on that kind of leads nicely into our next question. So you've mentioned amazing bosses, your tribe. Who's your biggest support or supporter along the way, or where do you get your support from? I guess probably a bit of both.
Yeah. And this is once again one of the answers of, gosh, I can't pick one. And so I would say there are so many people that have assisted me on the way. And even if I reflect on 2021, it's a team, it's a tribe of people. You're included in this. You're quite inspiring. And, that's why, we're hanging out right now. Because I just like the idea of hanging out and talking, workshopping ideas with you all the time. So I'd say, throughout my career tenure, the key starting point, the first person I'd like to do a shout out on is Chris Richards at Lab Support for seeing something in me that I didn't see in myself and supporting me. And I think every role that I've had, so thereafter it was Martin Felter, as I had mentioned. The next opportunity is a shout out to Bill Steggles, who taught me everything I needed to know to be an awesome researcher in a very technical market, in life science. And then moving on to other, businesses, GSK specifically, there's a whole team of people. So shout out to Zahed Kamathia, Danny Portsmouth, Callie Candola. These key people supported me in an environment. I'd never been internal, I'd never thought of internal recruitment. Like as an agency recruiter, shout out to all the agency recruiters thinking about embarking on an internal role. You can do it. And Laura and I are concocting something to support you to do that in the future. Because you feel, you need to know a certain, amount of information or have a certain toolkit. You just need support to understand the business pain points and needs, and you need to actually want to add value, make an impact. They're the key things, I would say. So, and most recently, the Jobs for Australia tribe, Jobs for Humanity tribe, there's too many people to name. But if I was going to mention my day ones, if you like, it would be Aihua Lim, Pavi Ia, Rebecca Powell, Michael Delaney, Andrea Kirby. So I think that's almost like a thank you speech.
It is. It's great though. And honestly, just like amazing how many amazing people that you've been surrounded by in all of those jobs as well, right? And just that there is so many people to shout out is pretty awesome.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
And lots of people in there just being biased towards, a few of them, like some really epic people, The Jobs for Humanity, like all that crowd, and Jobs for Australia group. Over the last year, I think I've interviewed a lot of them for the Striving podcast, and all of them are just incredible people who you get so much energy from talking to, and you just feel like a better person because you've talked to them that day.
That's so true. Yeah, and Roy Velarde is definitely one of them. I have to do a shout out to Roy for bringing us all together and coming up with the idea in the first place. But I guess most recently, I have a business coach. So I've got to do a shout out to Vanessa Main. She's helped me with products and services as of you. So yeah, her in particular, and Hung Lee, when it comes to business, you know, workshopping ideas, these two key people have assisted me over the course of the year as well. Yeah.
That's
I
awesome.
can't forget those two.
Okay. All right. So we've looked back, looking forward.
Yeah.
What's happening with proto science in 2022 and beyond? What are you working on? What can you tell us about?
Yep. Well, after having faced some adversities this year from June onwards, you know, the first part of the year is a bit of a blur, right? And because I was working on assisting a startup business, Invisible Partners at the time, and then post that, it was a series of health challenges for the family. And so I had set the intention in early 2021 about, you know, what I was going to be doing, and then decided post Invisible Partners that, yep, that's it. And you were part of that conversation. This is what I'm going to do. The cool thing is the intention is still there. The outcome is still the same that I'm pitching for, and it's adding value through products and services. And the products and services are workshops and programs, and in particular dedicated to helping people really get from where they are to where they want to be. And so one of the key things that I'll be doing in January is running a workshop with General Assembly. I'll be doing more and more with them, and it's all to do with goals for the year, career goals, career plans. You know, I did a 7-part series, LinkedIn Live, about, you know, how to create a career roadmap. I really feel as though people can be empowered to take control of their career. I'm always a big advocate of, if you have clarity on what you want, you can just create the pathway to get there, and I can help you with that. And I'm of the mindset of, I'll help you with that, but don't expect me to help you for life, because you just need it for that point in time. And then, you know, at every stage gate of your life, you're going to need something different. So yeah, I think that's what we're going to go with in January. And then in February, run a workshop with yourself. And that's to do with helping people know their professional value, their professional worth. And doing a self-evaluation, it gives you clarity on what are your skills and what do you want to do with them. And, you know, once you have that, and then you can easily create options for yourself, if you like, based on that. And that will lead to career happiness. So everything to do with career happiness for people. That's what the intention is. Yeah.
That's a pretty good intention for the year. It's a pretty good way to enter a new year as well, with all that energy and all those great intentions. Okay. Last question. Have you got any advice or anything that you'd like to impart listeners with before we go?
Yeah. So at every stage of my journey in life, you know, I come across new learnings. And I guess the most recent learning for myself is having had conversations this week with some new people that have become part of my network. The advice I would give is, especially after the last couple of years that we've had, you know, the state of the world changed, and therefore our values sort of became more aligned and in tune with what do we want out of our lives that's going to lead to more fulfillment. Because we took stock, we had a chance to do that. You know, we weren't running the rat race, we were at home. And we were impacted and we weren't able to leave. So it made us, I guess, do some inner engineering. So what I would say is, on the premise of that, propel yourself, move forward and break down walls. Don't be afraid to speak up if you have an idea, if you have an innovation. Don't think that you're too young, too old, you're not enough. I just feel like put that to the side and speak up, take action. Don't be afraid. You know, what's the worst that could happen? You stumble, you fall, you get back up again and try something else. So I think that's the piece of advice that I would like to leave everyone with. And not only that, one of the other key things that has come front of mind, because it's reflection time, how about if we looked at every single day as the first day of the rest of our lives? What if we framed it that way? And whatever happened in your day, you're going to make it feel good. You're going to enable yourself and those around you to feel good. If that's the intention, then that's as simple as it gets. And why not, you know, live like that? So that's what advice I would give to people out there.
I love that. I feel like I might need to like snip the last 2 minutes and just like play that in the mornings. If you're ever having one of those days where you're a little bit meh, you're like, just have a 2-minute pep talk from Joe, ready to go on your phone. You're like, okay, I'm good. I can do today. I've got this. I love it. Thank you so much for letting me interview you today and inviting me for my first LinkedIn Live. So thank you. And thank you for all your support over the last year and everything you do for so many of us. There's so many of us that really appreciate everything you do and who you are. So thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for being host today. I really enjoyed this ride. Yeah.
So, good. You didn't mind the grilling. Have I forgot anything? Should I have said anything else?
Let's see. Well, let's talk about our plans for 2022. You know, I know Striving and Protoscience will be setting the intention of helping organizations in the startup space through running programs. And we've been, you know, coming up and curating the way that looks. So anyone interested to come along on the journey of learning with us, our, I guess, biggest mission is making an impact, adding value, and we care. We care for the people in your business. We want them to get ahead. So yeah, I think that's the key thing that we can mention. And also your book club.
Yes. So first book club at the start of March, and we've got Betting on You, which is all about career advice and really talks to a lot of the stuff that Joe's just mentioned around really empowering yourself, knowing your worth, and make sure you're happy at work. So anybody wants to join us, I will be talking about it on LinkedIn a lot. And the details will be on the Striving website as well. I love a book club, so any excuse for a book club is fine by me. So I'm very excited about that.
Yes, and I've signed up to all of them already. So I'm looking forward to each and every one of them and the wonderful people that you're having as guests. And I think that'll be it for now. And the membership as well. I know we spoke about it briefly, and we've got a number of members already, but we do have some space to have additional members in there as well. And I think it's amazing to have, you know, curated content in there that can add value to you and your career, whatever the needs are that you have. And in response to that, just advice on, you know, how to do things better, I guess, in a nutshell. Anything you want to add for that?
No, I think you did a great summary as usual. Thank you.
Cool. I think that's it for today. Yeah.
Great. Well, thank you. I loved it. And then, yeah, just have a wonderful Christmas. And then I'm sure we'll see lots more of you on LinkedIn Live in the new year.
Yes, you will. So enjoy your Christmas as well. Take care. And
see you later.
See you soon.